Central Park runners avoided the scarred man every day. He looked dangerous. Nobody would approach him. But when 45-year-old Michael had a heart attack, this dangerous stranger did something impossible. Heart surgery. In the middle of the park. Because those scarred hands had saved soldiers' lives in Afghanistan, and Michael's age was the same as Harry's best friend he had lost. Welcome to Hidden Legends. Before we dive into this touching story, tell us in the comments what city you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button. Harry Miller came at the same time every day, 2:30 p.m., the same bench on the east side of Central Park. He had a deep scar on his left face, running from under his eye to his chin. He was 70 years old, gray-haired, a quiet man. He had the same routine every day. He would sit on the bench, read the New York Times, take out a chocolate chip cookie from a small bag, and eat it slowly. He always had bird feed with him. The pigeons and squirrels were used to him. They weren't afraid. But people were afraid. The runners, walkers, cyclists in the park would stay away from him. That big scar, his serious expression, his lack of eye contact with anyone, made people uncomfortable. When children asked their mothers, "Mom, what happened to that man's face?" Зрение матери вытягивали своих детей. Harry noticed this, every day, every hour. But he was used to it. It had been like this for 3 years, ever since Margaret died. Harry Miller's military background was extraordinary. He had joined the Army at 18, starting in the medical corps. But after basic medicine, he was selected for further training. Special Forces Combat Medic, the most elite program. His first deployment was Vietnam. In the 1970s, when he was 22, he worked as a field surgeon, saving wounded soldiers. Years passed, his experience increased. In 2001, when he was 46, the September 11th attacks happened. Harry still had years before retirement and volunteered to go to Afghanistan. His experience was invaluable. In Afghanistan, he provided medical support to special operations units. In the most dangerous missions, in the most critical situations, Harry was there. His friends called him Doc, because even in impossible cases, there was hope if Harry's hands were there. But that day, everything was different. March 15th, 2003. A mission near Kandahar. Harry was 48 years old. The intelligence was wrong. An ambush was set. The IED exploded. The Humvee caught fire. 3 soldiers were trapped inside. Harry didn't hesitate. He went into the burning vehicle. He pulled out the first soldier. He pulled out the second soldier. When he went back for the third, the second explosion happened. That third soldier was Tommy Rodriguez, 45 years old, father of 2. Harry saved him too, but shrapnel pieces had pierced Harry's face, from under his left eye to his chin. Tommy survived. Harry's facial scar became permanent. "I got this scar saving you," Harry would say to himself, "and I would do the same thing again." After this incident, Harry retired. At 48, early retirement, he could no longer continue fighting. He had met Margaret in 1975. At that time, Harry was a young soldier, and Margaret was a nurse at the hospital. They had met when Harry was taking care of wounded soldiers. They had been married for 45 years. Margaret had never minded Harry's scar. "This scar is a sign of what made you a hero," she would say. "I'm proud of it." That bench in Central Park was their favorite place. They would come on weekends, sit for hours, and watch people. Margaret loved chocolate chip cookies. "Life's little pleasures," she would say, laughing. When Margaret died of cancer in 2021, Harry's world collapsed. At 70, he was left alone. They had no children. Most of his close friends had died, but he continued coming to that bench every day, eating Margaret's favorite cookies to keep her memory alive. That Monday was like any other. Harry was sitting on his bench, reading his newspaper. It was 3:15 p.m. The park had the usual runners. Michael Stevens was 45 years old, an executive at an advertising company. He ran every day during lunch break, trying to stay in shape. That day, he was doing his normal run too. As he passed 50 meters in front of Harry's bench, he suddenly stopped. Out of breath, he clutched his chest. His face had turned white as a sheet. Cold sweat was pouring. "Help me!" he screamed. "My chest, it feels like it's tearing apart." Other runners stopped and surrounded him, but they didn't know what to do. They were panicking. "Call 911!" they were shouting. "Call an ambulance! Quick!" Michael suddenly collapsed to the ground. His eyes rolled back, his body started convulsing. Foam was coming out of his mouth, massive myocardial infarction. His heart had stopped. "He's not breathing!" screamed a runner named Sarah. "No pulse! He's dying!" The runners looked helplessly. Michael's face was starting to turn purple. Brain cells would die in minutes. Harry threw his newspaper. With his 70-year-old body, he rose like lightning and ran toward Michael. He was no longer that scary, scarred man. He was a combat surgeon. "Everyone back off!" he shouted. His voice was a command voice, authoritative and sharp. "Give him space!" Now, the runners were shocked. What was this old man doing? Harry knelt beside Michael. He checked his pulse from his wrist. Nothing. He searched for the carotid pulse from his neck. Nothing. He put his ear to his chest. No heart sound. "Ventricular fibrillation," he murmured. "Full arrest." He put his hand on Michael's forehead. He tilted his head back, opened the airway. Then he placed his crossed hands on his chest. "Come on, Michael," he spoke calmly but decisively. "Come back to me, son." He started compressions. But this wasn't ordinary CPR. Perfect technique, correct depth, correct speed, 100 to 120 compressions per minute. His hands worked like a machine. 30 compressions, 2 breaths, 30 compressions, 2 breaths. Michael's chest was rising and falling under Harry's strong hands. Broken ribs could be heard, but Harry didn't stop. "Come back," he shouted. "Your children are waiting for you. Come back to me." 2 minutes passed. Nothing. Michael's face turned even more purple. The runners looked hopelessly. "Too late," one whispered. "He's gone." But Harry didn't stop. He never stopped. In the 3rd minute, a miracle happened. Michael's eyes trembled. A cough, then a deep breath. "You're back!" Harry shouted. "Good boy!" Michael opened his eyes. He was confused, but alive. His pulse was strong. He was breathing. The runners were shocked. This old man had accomplished the impossible. He had brought a dead man back to life. When the ambulance arrived, Michael was stable. The paramedics saw Harry's intervention. "Perfect CPR," said the paramedic. "Who did this?" The runners pointed to Harry. The paramedic was surprised. "Sir, do you have medical training?" Harry hesitated. He hadn't had this conversation with anyone for 3 years. "I had," he said briefly. As Michael was being put on the stretcher, he held Harry's hand. "Thank you," he said in a weak voice. "You saved me." Harry looked at Michael. The young man looked very young. "How old are you, son?" Harry asked. 45, Michael said. Harry's eyes welled up. 45. Just like him. Like who? My friend I saved, Tommy. He was also 45 when I saved him. He had 2 children, probably just like you. I was 48 then, thought I was invincible. Now I'm 70, and I'm still pulling people back from the edge. The runners listened quietly. "The scar on your face?" asked one of the runners. "I got it saving him," Harry said slowly. "While pulling Tommy out of the burning Humvee, shrapnel piece. But it was worth it. He lived. He returned to his family." After the ambulance left, the runners surrounded Harry. They were no longer afraid. They were curious. "Who are you?" asked a young runner named Sarah. "Major Harry Miller," Harry said. "Army Special Forces combat medic, retired." "Major?" David, one of the runners, was surprised. "You're an officer?" "I was," Harry said modestly. "How many years did you serve?" 30 years. Vietnam, Afghanistan, and many places in between." The runners looked at each other. They had been seeing this man for 3 years. He sat on the same bench every day, and none of them knew who he really was. "Why don't you ever talk?" asked a young runner. Harry returned to his bench, sat down. "There was no one to talk to," he said quietly. "My wife Margaret died 3 years ago. She was my only friend. Now I'm alone." "What do you do on this bench every day?" Harry took out his cookie bag. This was Margaret's favorite place. We used to come together on weekends. She loved chocolate chip cookies. She would say, "Life's little pleasures." Now I eat them in her memory. The runners were emotional. This scary-looking man was actually a lonely, grieving hero. The next day, Harry came to his bench as usual. But something was different. Sarah the runner was carrying a small box with her. "Major Miller," she said, approaching, "I brought you something." She opened the box. There were chocolate chip cookies inside. "In Margaret's memory," she said, "you shouldn't eat these alone." Harry's eyes welled up. "You're very kind, but—" "Please," Sarah said, "can we sit too?" Harry nodded. Sarah sat next to Harry on the bench. They shared the cookie. That day David came too. He had brought cookies. Then Tom, Michael's runner friend, came. Within a week, Harry's bench had become a meeting point. Every day different runners would come, bring cookies, and chat with Harry. Harry would tell them his military stories, the people he saved, the places he saw, the adventures he had. But he talked about Margaret the most. "She was my greatest hero," he would say. "She lived with me for 45 years. She never minded this scar. She would say, 'This is a sign of what made you a hero.'" 2 weeks later, Michael was discharged from the hospital. The first thing he did was come to Central Park to find Harry. Harry was in his usual place. When Michael saw him, he ran over. "Major Miller," he shouted, "I was looking for you." Harry stood up. Michael hugged him. "The doctor said you saved me in 4 minutes. If it had been 4 minutes later, I would have had brain damage." "It was my duty," Harry said simply. "No," Michael said. "This was love. Love you showed to a stranger." Michael took out a box. "This is for Margaret," he said. "And for you." Inside were 2 chocolate chip cookies. One had Margaret written on it, the other had Harry. Harry started crying. He hadn't cried for 3 years. Months passed. Harry's bench was now known as the Community Cookie Corner. Every day, 10 to 15 people would come. Runners, walkers, park workers. Harry was no longer alone. He had dozens of friends. Each one brought him different types of cookies: chocolate, almond, fruit, honey. "Margaret would have loved this," Harry would say. "So many people gathering here, sharing stories. She was social." The park management mounted a special plaque for Harry on the bench. "Major Harry Miller, community guardian, hero, friend." Harry would look at the plaque and smile. "Margaret, look what happened," he would say to himself. "Now we have a family." A year later, Michael had fully recovered. He continued running, but now he would stop when he passed in front of Harry's bench every day. "Major," he would say, "how are you today?" "I'm good, son," Harry would say. "How are you?" "How's your family?" "Everyone's fine. My children thank you. Their father is still alive because of you." That day, Harry showed Michael something special. He took out an old photo from his wallet. "This is Tommy," he said, "the soldier I saved in Afghanistan. Do you see? You look very much alike." Michael looked at the photo. There really was a resemblance. 45 years old, father of 2, Harry said. "He looks very much like you. Maybe it's not a coincidence. Maybe life sent me here to save you." "Do you believe that?" "I believe," Harry said. "Margaret always said, everything has a meaning. Maybe my life is to be there at important moments. First Tommy, now you." Michael smiled. "Well, let me share something too. One of my children's name is Harry." Harry was surprised. "Really?" "Yes, Harry Michael Stevens. We named him before we met you, but it's like it was destiny." Harry's eyes welled up. "Margaret, can you hear me?" he murmured. Everything really had a meaning. That evening, as Harry walked home, he was happy for the first time in 3 years. He was no longer alone. He had a family. He had a purpose. And Margaret's spirit continued to live in those chocolate chip cookies. So the scary-looking scarred man was actually the community's greatest protector. Harry Miller is 70 years old, alone, but not lonely. Because real heroes don't use their age, they use their hearts. Margaret was right. Everything had a meaning. And Harry's meaning was to continue saving lives. If this story touched you, share it, subscribe, and help these important stories continue. We'll see you in the next legend. And until then, remember, that quiet old man you see in the park might be a hero ready to save your life. Appearances deceive, but the heart never lies.